Hi, my name's Isaac Shutt, and I'm an estate planning and probate attorney, and I'm based in Texas. I'm licensed in Texas and in Wyoming. Today we're going to talk about probably the toughest question for parents, and that is, when I pass away, who gets my kids? Who will be their guardian? You know, for us, it was relatively easy to decide who gets what in our will because at the end of the day, it's going to be equal among our children. So that part was pretty easy in our will, but the hard part was actually who gets the kids. So I thought it would be helpful to talk a little bit about some of the really important factors in choosing a guardian for minor children, like who will get your kids if you pass away. Now, I'm telling you this through the lens of someone who's handled a lot of guardianship cases. I've been in the courtroom with minor children after they've lost their parents, and it's really sad, and it's difficult, and you don't want to not predesignate a guardian at all. That's really the worst thing you can do because, honestly, you're probably leaving it up to a court staff or county employees to pick guardians for your children. I know these staff people here in the Dallas area, and they're wonderful, well-meaning people. But I have to say, I'd rather be in charge of picking who would get my children if something happened to me. So, after handling many of these cases, I've learned what are the most important factors in choosing a guardian for minor children. So, number one, the most important thing is trust. The first, and I know this seems basic, but they have to be trustworthy people. So I'm going to talk about some sort of lesser important factors that you should consider, but first and foremost, you need to have somebody who's really trustworthy. So the other things about how busy they are and all that, those are wonderful factors, but first and foremost, you need to know, is this person going to raise my kids the way that I would want them raised? Do they have the same educational things, the same social aspirations? Maybe church is important. Those are the really core important things that are right at the top of the list. Do you trust these people to raise the kids the way that you would want them raised? So that's most important. Number two, I think, is sort of a tie. And I would say this is a tie between skills and time. And what I mean by skills is not necessarily like they're trained or anything like that, but do they have experience with parenting? Do they have a career? Are they nurses? Are they those kinds of things? Those are really good guardians. You know, you want to be careful listing somebody as a guardian who has no experience with children. Again, they may do wonderful. And that's why I say trustworthy is the most important thing. So let me just be specific for a minute. If you had two people who are equally trustworthy, then we get to the next tier and we look at things like skills, their background, their family. Do they have such a big family that they wouldn't have time? Is their career so demanding that they wouldn't have time? So I think skills and time, their background, are the next level of importance in terms of factors. Now, let's say you've got a sibling or somebody who is totally trustworthy, has a great background, has kids just like you do, and has the time to do it. But let's say you have two siblings where all of these things are good. Well, then we look at the lowest on the list, which is geography. And that's actually lowest on the list. The crazy thing is, to me, most people put geography up here. You know, they say, look, I don't necessarily love my sister who's right here as guardian, but she's close. Well, it is important, the geography of where that person is, especially depending on your kid's age. But I actually, in my experience, think it's not the most important thing. So I think in order of priority, this is it. Now, Geography is important, and I don't need to take anything away from that. So again, if you had two people who are trustworthy that have the background, the skills, and the time, and they're all the same, but one lives close and one is far away, you should definitely pick as the primary the one who's geographically closer. Geographically closer is really important because the social structures that your children are accustomed to will still be there. So particularly as your kids are a little bit older, like preteen and teen, the social structures are so important. Their friends are so much more important. Their teachers and school staff and church family, those are things that geography will impact. So when you're picking a guardian for minor children in your will, this is the hierarchy of things that you should consider. One other little important pointer, and this is really important, you should have backups. So a lot of people run through this and they actually list their parents, which if your parents are relatively young, listing your parents as potential guardians for your children is probably not a terrible idea. But they are older than you, and they're only going to get older. So it's important that you have some primaries and some backups. So I hope you found this helpful, because if there's one thing that I think is just the absolute most important is have a will and designate guardians correctly for your minor children. Again, my name's Isaac Shutt. I'm at Shutt Law Firm. All we handle in our law office is Texas estate planning and probate law, and we'd love to hear from you.